You are listening to the Will Power Podcast. Welcome to the show. I am Will Holdren, and I talk with some of the most influential CEOs, entrepreneurial leaders, and thought leaders to reveal the secrets that have led to their success. I believe that with the right knowledge and mindset, you can do anything you say your mind to. So if you want to learn how to change your life for the better, if you want to learn how millionaires actually became wealthy, or if you want to develop and start your own business from the ground up with the right knowledge to help you, then you are in the right place because this is the Willpower Podcast. How are we doing, everyone? My name is Will Holdren. I am the host of the Willpower Podcast. Today we have an incredible faith-based entrepreneur, and his name is Dr. Dave Jones. And before he became an entrepreneur, Dave was actually a professional hockey player, and he was also in the Air Force at one point. And now for the past 20 years, he's been an entrepreneur, and he's been the owner of a company called M is Good. And that is a company that is actually one of the largest Christian marketing companies out there. It's also an 8-figure agency that has produced over $500 million for its customers, which is absolutely incredible. And like I mentioned, he's doing it all through faith and with God as well, which is I love to see on the podcast. So with that being said, first and foremost, Dave, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, man. I'm so looking forward to this interview, man.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. So
I love podcasting. I love talking with entrepreneurs who are crushing it, and especially ones that are faith-based, because I think that just brings it all together when you add God to the mix. But starting out, I wanted to jump into your story. So talking about your early on childhood, what was that like? And were you always an entrepreneur, or did that come down the road, or what did that look like growing up for you?
yeah, great questions. So how did I grow up? I grew up poor. I grew up with parents that absolutely loved me, but they just they came from a generation where, like, if they weren't being beaten, then like they were raising their kids well. And so
Yeah.
I also grew up in a town that was very depressed. And and so I don't know, man. Like I just wanted something more. And just like any kid, I wanted attention. I wanted to be valued, appreciated, and loved. And I found the hockey community did that for me. And so I just ended up scoring more goals. So the more goals I scored, the more I felt valued. So I just kept on doing it, trying to figure out a way to score goals. And so I had a really successful youth hockey career that took me on to playing in Ottawa, playing in Cleveland, and then playing in Europe. At some point, that all ended. My identity was through being a hockey player, and after 2 nose surgeries and 56 stitches in my face, and deviated septum,
Man.
and a couple of knee and back issues, my identity was crushed. Will, and that identity was that I was a hockey player, and so I had to really change. I didn't like myself. I had just the epiphany that if I was, wanting to hang out with me, I wouldn't hang out with me. And through the grace of God, I found a mentor who said, if you don't like who you are, why don't you, this is before social media, back in 1999. But he said, if you don't like who you are, then turn off the TV and read these 30 books. And it took me 2 years. And I did it. And every time I tell the story, I still remember kind of the rocking chair above, in my townhome where there was a platform, on top of the stairs where I'd have the great lighting. And I just read. And I just changed, the perception of me, which wasn't good.
Yeah. Did you grow up a Christian, or did that come down?
I did not grow up as a Christian. The story is, I won the state championship and I got drunk on vodka and orange juice. I still can't drink it today. And my brother came home, and he was at Mooney Bible School, and he said, "Hey man, do you want to receive Jesus as your Lord and Savior?" And I was like, it was the very next day. It was providential that he showed up. And I said, "Man, I want anything but this." I received Jesus that day, and I was 16 at the time. And it took several years. I mean, the seed was planted, but it took till about I was 20 for that seed to really take off.
Got it. Yeah, I think that's a very fascinating story about your come up. I mean, first of all, a professional hockey player, which is truly an amazing accomplishment. But at some point, right, like like the sports career does end, and it's like, what's the next step? And whether it's sports or whether you're an entrepreneur, you got to switch up businesses and pivot to something new. Like it's tough because you got to become someone new. And like you mentioned, you got to really change who you are, and kind of your perception about yourself. So kind of walk me through that transition for you. I mean, what was the hardest part about changing your own personal self-image, from being that professional hockey player to just something more and something, taking that next step?
Yeah, so I coach on this all the time now. I've kind of boiled it down to an acronym. It's called your FLAP. So everybody struggles with their FLAP. So that's your fear, your lust, your anger, and your pride. And because we're human, everybody struggles with at least two of those every single day. So you have to be mindful. In my mind, you have to be mindful of your flap. It gets in the way of everything. And so, when you have the humility of Christ inside of you and you really fear the Lord, you're asking for wisdom, knowledge, and understanding and just staying humble all the time. And I, I I don't want to, I'm not going to brag at all, but like, I'm usually like the guy in the room who's been at this the longest when it comes to like marketing and Christian marketing.
Yeah.
And so I always just ask questions. I never throw that in anybody's face. If I've been doing this for 24 years, don't tell me. Like that's your pride, man.
Right.
And I've learned over the years that your lust is not like sexual lust. Your lust is also lust for possessions. It's lustful for having a bigger bank account or more houses or a bigger boat or a faster car.
Mm,
Now I do enjoy those things, but I don't lust after them. So there's a difference. It's kind of like the root of evil is the love is the root of evil. The root of all evil is money
yeah.
or the love of money. And so, you got to be careful there because money is not evil. The love of it is. And
Mm,
so money is amoral. It's good in the hands of good people and it's bad in the hands of bad people. So it's kind of like the same way there.
yeah. Well, definitely definitely good acronym. But on that note
Yeah,
too, I mean, I think that that's such a good point where you got to be careful for your love of money, and you don't want to go out there and just buy a bunch of yachts, and that really just can't be the end goal, and maybe nice cars and whatever that comes with. But at the same time, like it's not bad to want nice things for
that's
yourself.
right.
So
Yeah.
how do you balance that as a Christian entrepreneur and do that in the right ways where like you don't feel guilty going out and buying whatever your dream car was, whether that's a Ferrari, Lamborghini, whatever that is. I mean, is that cross the line, or like how do you feel not guilty about doing that as a Christian entrepreneur?
Yeah, I think there's definitely uh, some level of philosophical debate there. Especially in the church, like, I've been down that path of like, okay, as a pastor, can I buy a Honda Accord or can I buy a BMW or can I buy a Porsche? When is it lustful?
Right.
And it's like it's not for us to decide because how do you differentiate between 65 and 165 and $265,000? You know what I mean? Like for a car. It's what's in your heart. And so you and I are not the way I've positioned is you and I are not the judge.
Mm,
So whether that pastor goes out and buys a Lambo, that's not up for you to say, hey, he's lustful. That's in his own heart, and that's something he has to deal with.
yeah.
And so this is where like it just goes back to your personal walk with God and how you see yourself. It's not how others see you. If you base your life around what others feel and think of you, you're in trouble.
Yeah. Definitely.
Right. And that's kind of that lustful, you know, um, attribute that you could have. So it's just not between you.
Yeah.
I have this conversation with my staff all the time, and I think it's interesting. Like, you know, uh, when do we have to have all the answers? Like, there's certain questions that you just can't ask, Will, because you're not the author. I'm not the author,
Right.
right? Like, why do good things happen to bad people, and why do bad things happen to good people?
Yeah.
Like that's a question for God. It's not a question for us because how we discern good and evil is not through the lens of God because we're not God.
Right. Right.
you know? And I almost think of it like do you have pets?
I do. Yeah. Cat and dog.
You have a dog, yeah. So the dog doesn't understand where its food comes from. All it knows is Will puts it down for him,
Yeah.
right? And so does it ask you, "Hey, where do you go to PetSmart to get the food? And what's the food made of? And how often you have to go get it?" Like the dog doesn't ask that because it's doing what God called it to do, which is be a dog,
Right.
right? And so we have these bigger questions that we have as humans that we're not the author of, that that we just don't have the answers.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know? And
Yeah.
yeah, go
I
ahead.
think there's definitely some things out there we're just not meant to understand fully, and you just gotta be okay with that, and just
Yeah, you have to be okay with it, and that's where faith comes in, right? Like, it's just,
yeah.
just being in God's presence and following your intuition of what's, good for the kingdom of God, not what's good for you, you know? There is a certain criteria that I have follow for that, but yeah,
Yeah.
man, there's just certain questions that are off limits, and people don't like that. They don't like to hear that. Like, "Yeah, I can ask the question." Well, you're gonna get an earthly answer, which
Right.
isn't one you're gonna like, you know?
Right. Right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Jump back into your story. You mentioned after hockey, your mentor gave you 30 books to read, and you said you did that over 2 years, completely changed your own self-image, your own perception. After that
Yeah.
turning point, is that when you decided to start M is Good? And kind of what drove you into Christian marketing of all things you could have jumped into, right? Like why was that you decided to go into?
Yeah, so the story is it was right around 1998, 99 that I ran into this mentor. And I would say 2 years later would be 2001, which is when I started the company. I prayed a prayer, man. I wish it was more complicated and strategic, but I prayed a prayer right there in my cubicle, and I found myself looking at a list of all the Christians on the TV station. I work for Fox TV as a sales rep, and I don't know why I didn't see it before. I just didn't. And there's a list of Christian clients on the station. I said, "Oh, I'll start an agency. What do I call it?" And I didn't hear an audible voice or anything like that. It was just something in my belly said Marketing Ministries. And I thought, that's a dumb name, man. Like that's the dumbest name. Marketing and ministries, two common words, you know?
Yeah.
And so I hired a lawyer to see if it was available, and it was. And I thought, oh, maybe God isn't so dumb after all. And it was available, and so I started the company, Marketing Ministries. In 2013, we rebranded to M is Good.
Okay.
But that
Got
was
it.
the original name. Yeah.
Got it. Now, you don't know much about marketing at this point, I'm assuming, right? Because your background wasn't in marketing, or like
No
what
clue.
you, yeah, so
No clue, man.
what were you doing for these clients those first couple of years when you were just jumping into this business, into the great unknown?
Yeah, it's a great question. I basically knew media buying. So I was buying media for pastors that had a television show. Like, when you see pastors preaching on TV.
Yeah.
So I was an intermediate between the secular television station and them. And that first year, I invoiced 15. Well, the story is I went to 21 clients on that list. And in November, they're like, "Yeah, Dave, we're with you. This is going to be awesome." I'm like, "Yeah, okay." So they basically all said that.
Wow.
In January, I actually started the company. I went back to them, Will, and they said, "What? We're not with you."
Jeez.
And so I ended up starting with 3 out of that 21 accounts. Two of them are still with me today,
Awesome.
24 years later, which is really cool. That first year, I invoiced $15,000 a year, and I made 15%.
Okay. Okay.
Yep. So crushing it, right?
Right. Good
Second
start. Yeah.
second year I did $60,000 and I made 15%. Third year, I think it was like 120 at 15%. So 120,000 at 15% for those who are listening out there that are struggle with math like me. That was $15,000 a year that
Yeah.
I made. Yeah.
That's a big jump though in overall, gross revenue.
Yeah, I
Wow.
thought so too, but then man, I can't pay the bills with that, right?
Yeah.
$15,000 a year.
Yeah.
And then year 3, well, you really year 4 it jumped to 400. And
Wow.
then year 5 it jumped to 800, and then I never looked back. So
That's
it took me
insane
5
scaling.
years.
Yeah, that's
What's
insane
that?
scaling. That's awesome. What were you doing to scale the company so quickly? I mean, those big jumps that happen between year three, four, and year five, that's not easy to do. So it's just advertising, or what are you doing? Just word of mouth at that point?
Yeah, so I didn't, I was a hockey player. So are you a hockey fan?
I've seen a little bit. And yeah, it's not my
Okay.
sport. Yeah.
So I was a hockey player. So like, if the puck's in the corner, you got to go get it.
Yeah.
That's the mentality, and you got to come out with the puck.
Mhm.
And so that was just my mentality. Something inside of me, maybe it's my years of, just playing hockey that says, I want to win. And I need to plan to win. I need to, figure out how to make this work. And I just kept on trying and trying and making so many mistakes.
Yeah.
And I just knew that sales, somehow I just knew that the kind of sales were, acquiring new clients. I had to stay focused on that and then let the other details figure themselves out. So I really didn't like try to understand accounting. I really didn't try to understand accounts payable, accounts receivable. I just understood, go out there and communicate your vision to the world.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did, and it just stuck with it. And my fiance wife now of 25 years, she allowed me to stick with it and just keep going.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Now, fast forward today, I mean, you have over 1,200 clients. I think you said over 500 million revenue generated for your clients. I mean, that's insane. Looking back, did you think you would ever be at this point with your company, and kind of where do you think it's going to be headed the next 10 years after that?
Yeah, no question about it. I have no idea I'd be here. I mean, it's kind of strange to say you're one of four agencies in the world and you are the OG.
Right.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's just crazy. Now, there's other agencies that are way bigger, but in our vertical of, Christian marketing, we're the OG of that space.
Yeah.
From what I can tell that's out there. I would love for somebody to challenge me on that. I've looked and looked and looked.
Yeah.
There's not somebody older than us that's been doing this type of vertical for so long. So
Yeah. 24 years is a long time. So
yeah.
like you got that record. So for those listening, I mean, what generally separates between just like Christian marketing and just normal marketing? How do you go about that? Yeah, when you're working with these clients, like what are you doing to separate that?
Yeah. So, again, we're not the judge of, somebody's Christian walk, but if you're attempting to glorify the Lord with your talents and your abilities, then, we need to have a conversation about how we can help you. And so there's usually a vision that you have, of how you see the world, and you've started something, whether it's from starting a Christian coffee company or a Christian chimneys company, or you're in a church or a ministry.
Yeah.
There's some level of, this is my vision that I want to communicate that God has given me. I want to communicate to the world. And so your walk is, again, that's your own. That's not us. We
Right.
just come alongside you and, amplify your message.
Right. Now, are you guys working primarily with pastors still, or are you guys all over the spectrum with type of clients you guys will bring on, just as long as it's like a faith-based company?
That's it. It's just all over the spectrum. Yeah.
Faith-based. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. So when these companies hire you guys, do you guys pretty much go out there and do like Facebook ads and LinkedIn posts and YouTube ads, Google ads, like all kinds of stuff? What's the strategy around, promoting these companies, helping?
Yes, we have a process called R7, which I'm not into prophecy, but I was given in a prophetic word in Germany in 2009. And so R7 is, what's the destiny? That's step one. Like, what's the overall purpose here? It should be to glorify the Lord with our talents and abilities.
Yeah.
Step two is vision. What's the vision? How are we going to communicate that? And then from there, we're building out the strategy of the vision. Then we're going to build the brand. So then step five is communicate. We're going to pray. Step six about steps 1 through 5. And then step 7, we're going to take action.
Wow.
So this is a process. It brings clarity and direction. The first 3 steps, destiny, vision, strategy, are fairly intense of understanding, okay, this is my vision. Biblically, I think there's 8 types of visions. The vision that we really focus on is a vision statement. So we've seen this in the political realm. I mean, that's the most recent thing that everybody can associate with. We saw Donald Trump's vision of "Make America Great Again,"
Right.
right? And we can go to, I have example after example of this. Like if you go back to Obama's vision. Do you remember Obama's vision when he was running and won and rallied the nation and perhaps the world?
I don't know. I forget.
Yeah, it's yes, change, yes, we can.
Okay.
That's his vision. Do you remember who he's running against at the time?
Man, what was that like 2012 or something?
2008.
Yeah, 2008.
It's John McCain.
Okay, yeah, John McCain, that sounds
John
familiar.
McCain, and nobody ever remembers the vision because he didn't have one. And then if I fast forward to when Trump ran the first time, he ran against Hillary.
Hillary.
Yeah. And do you remember her vision?
I have no idea.
Nobody knows. I think it was I'm with her. And so like we can see, that vision, the proper vision statement can rally rally your organization. It can rally, outsiders. Political is one avenue we can talk about, but there's others too. Bill Gates's vision when he first started was a computer in every home,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's pretty powerful. And now at the time he rolled that out, a computer was literally the size of a building. So when you're saying a computer in every home, like that's crazy talk, right? Like how in the world is now I think there's 3 devices per human in the world.
Wow.
So back in the 70s, a computer like FedEx, to be in every city every day. Like that was crazy talk. There was no other delivery service. It was FedEx and UPS. I'm sorry, USP, United States Postal Service, USPS.
Yeah.
And so to be in every city every day, that's crazy talk. Now they're in every city probably 2 to 3 times every day.
Right. At least, yeah.
Yeah. So the vision is something that's, it's short, portable, easy to understand, memorable, and inspiring, detailed, 7-11 words, no conjunctions. And so it's something that's very strategic in how you deliver your message.
Yeah. Yeah, to that point, I think there's a lot of founders and entrepreneurs out there. They think they have a vision down, but it's kind of like foggy in their minds. To
Yeah.
your point, if it's not crystal clear, I'm sure you've seen a ton of this, and it's really not going to be effective. So I think hammering that out is super important. So everyone's just focused on going toward that same end goal together, and that's way
That's
more
it.
powerful. So
Way more powerful, way more effective. So we take people through R7, that's our process,
okay,
right? And then once we get that vision, then we build out the strategy. So that can be it can be, really based upon budget, whether it's display, whether it's TV, whether it's digital, whether it's Rumble, Salem, Blaze, Daily Wire, Red Seat Ventures, influencers.
wow,
Once we lay down the strategy, then we can get into the communicate, right? Which is the strategy, brand, communicate. So then we take that message and we amplify it to the world. It's kind of like the bat signal, when I don't know if you remember the cartoon when the commissioner needs Batman, he goes to the top of the building and shines the big bat logo.
right.
That's you. That's you and your vision. We got to shine it to the world.
Yeah, that's great. And so, yeah, it sounds like you guys are using all types of processes and really just avenues to get more eyeballs and just more traction going. I mean, from what you see in all these kind of verticals you guys are talking about, whether it's like influencers or getting in magazines or newspapers. I mean, what have you seen to be the most kind of effective, or maybe the most that convert? Um,
Yeah, it's a great question. So, it used the undisputed heavyweight champion when it comes to reaching the most amount of people for the least amount of money
mhm.
was television.
Really
Yeah. And
interesting.
so if you look back at the history of it, we had 3 stations, ABC, NBC, CBS. And in the early 90s, Fox came in and everybody, I mean, I don't know if I'm 51, I don't know how old you are, but like it was a big deal when Fox came in because like people were going, how they're going to run cartoons at prime time? This will never work. And here we are today, 30 years later, and the Simpsons are still going live.
Right.
And so this idea of broadcast television was the way.
Mm.
And then cable and then satellite came. Now the undisputed heavyweight champion is really influencers.
Hmm.
Finding the right influencer with the right audience to communicate your voice, that's what's winning right now.
Interesting.
Yeah.
how are you going about and finding these influencers? I totally believe that. I mean, look at all the YouTubers guys that are out there. I mean, their followings are absolutely massive. And like Logan Paul, for instance, he launched his own drink, Prime, and then it just
Yeah.
exploded, right? So they got so much impact and so much influence. But I mean, to your point, how do you find these right influencers? Like, what are you looking for?
Yeah. It's a bit of an A/B test. You got to know your voice and you got to know the other person's voice and they got to, unify. So it takes a little bit more time to kind of figure out the right influencer.
Hmm.
Um, and so like we've experimented with that with a lot of money with different clients. And so I will say that there's no silver bullet here. It is a bit of an experiment. Um, but you've got to be able to pivot. You can't just, you can't be like the old television station buy where you put it on Fox and let it ride and see what happens. That's not today. We have pixels, we have KPI management, we have Google Analytics 4 to track everything.
Yeah,
Data's easy to mine and see what's working, what's not. You just have to have that, kind of business relationship to say, hey, we're going to try this. And if it works, everybody eats. And
yeah,
if it doesn't, we're going to cancel.
right. Keep
Yeah.
moving on. Yeah.
Yeah.
To me, and I'm sure to a lot of other entrepreneurs on paper, I think a lot of people have a really great product in mind or a really great idea in mind. And with that great idea, you should be like, okay, I should be able to market it. I should be able to take this out there and I should be able to make a lot of money and help a lot of people, right? On paper. But it really doesn't
Hmm.
happen. Even people that have the best ideas, some of them, a lot of them fail. And a lot of it comes down to marketing, right? Because they don't know how to really get their product out there. So what are some of the biggest mistakes that you see these entrepreneurs making just starting out with their companies and they're trying to market their product? I mean, what are these guys doing wrong that's not it's not kind of converting for them?
Yeah, I mean, it's an actually phenomenal question. I don't know that I can answer it with a simple answer because there's so much that goes into it. You've got your messaging, you got your positioning of the message, and then you got visuals behind it, and then you've got the voice to carry it, but you also need a platform,
Right.
to carry it as well. So, there's a lot of moving parts there. I will say just kind of as a general theme is that your messaging, you have to find the tip of the spear in your messaging. If there's any doubt with your messaging, it's not going to work. If there's any doubt with you, like not you will, but like, you is kind of like, I'm struggling. I don't know. Then it's not ready to go to market. And then if your organization is punching holes in it and they don't understand it, it's really not ready to go.
Right.
You got to find the tip of the spear and make it clean and incredibly easy. And I'll give you an example why.
Mhm.
Um, in the 19 in the year, let's go back to 2000, 25 years ago. The amount of impressions that the average American was being hit with was about 300 per day. Okay, so this is like an impression is just that it's an impression. It's something that flashes in front of you. So
Yeah.
300 a day.
Yeah.
The bounce rate was 30 days. So, in other words, when the president gave a speech, that speech would resonate with the American people for 30 days. Okay, so if I fast forward to 2010, the amount of impressions go up to about 10,000 a day. Your bounce rate goes up to about 2 days instead of 30. If I fast forward to 2025, can you guess how many impressions we have per day that hit us?
I'm gonna say 15,000.
Very close. Good job. 17,000 impressions a day.
Okay.
And in fourth quarter, it goes way up. Black Friday, Cyber Monday, way up.
That's
The bounce rate is down to an hour.
Chase.
So you have zero time to get your message across. This
Yeah.
is why influencers are growing so fast because they already come as a trusted source. They've already organically built their audience. So why email, like just buying an email list from the grocery store, isn't going to work because it's not coming from a trusted source.
Yeah.
And this is why broadcast media is dead. It's been dead. And this is why people buy what they listen to, what they engage in, where they live. One thing that the Biden administration did when he got elected was everybody ran to their corners. Whether you're Republican, conservative, you ran to your corner in your purchasing power and in your living experience. And the same thing on the liberal woke left. is they ran to their corner too. And so all those influencers became trusted. We don't really trust big government.
Yeah.
And so this is why influencers are another reason why they're taking off. And so if you have your message and it's, man, it's clear and it's easy to get involved and you've created a VIP experience for that consumer to go through, you're going to win.
Mhm. Yeah. And to
Yeah.
your point, a lot of them don't have it, right? They don't have that
They
too.
don't have it.
Yeah. But
They
that,
think they do and they're ready to go to market, but they don't.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so crazy with the amount of touches we get and the use of the bump time. And that's insane. So you got to find
Yeah.
ways to compete in the new world. Now with AI coming out too, I mean, it's just an ever-changing landscape, right? So it's hard to stay on top of. But
You're spot on. The target is constantly moving.
yeah,
And AI, it's interesting to me. I have a 19-year-old and a 21-year-old, they're going to college. The colleges that are fighting against AI to say that it's illegal and it's plagiarism, they're behind.
yeah, agreed.
Like, I'm not a big academia guy, but I have my doctorate. And it wasn't for the title for me. It was more for the chasing of the psychology and behavior that was important to me. But like AI is here, it's going to stay. And the more universities embrace this and use it and figure out how to build a curriculum around it, will make a better educated student slash community leader, you know, person in the, those building companies because they're using it. We're using it all the time.
Yeah, and you should be. I mean,
And you should be.
it's changing the landscape. It's another brain that you can just rely on and thinks faster than you. It's smarter than you. So
I mean, it's brilliant, right? You have the smartest
yeah,
engine in it's like having 10 of the smartest people in the same room with you. Why would you not ask them a question?
right, right.
You
It's
know?
free. Yeah, somewhat free employee too. So
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
makes sense on all kinds of levels. But before we run out of time, I just got a couple more questions for you.
Sure.
Looking ahead, I mean, how do you see your business kind of evolving and changing and growing just over the next few years, next decade?
Yeah, so you know, in the business world, like you have companies that do the S curve. If you I don't know if you heard this before, but it's like a most companies, they have like an S. They grow, they start, they innovate, they expand, and then they plateau.
Yeah,
And then they have to grow, innovate, and expand it again. It looks like a big kind of an S, right?
yeah,
And most companies don't make a first S. And so that's really my it's really my focus right now is innovating again, pivoting again, and we're making some investments in AI to pivot again. I've been through 2 decades of media buying. I've seen it pivot, and I think I've done a pretty good job of understanding where people are listening and watching. And so that's what I would say. One of those books in that pile of 30 books is Who Moved My Cheese,
okay.
by Spencer. I don't know if you've read that book or not, but like
I heard.
that's where we're at right now. Who Moved My Cheese?
Yeah, got it. Okay. Well, I love
Yeah.
that. And if people want to reach out to you or your company to get kind of more details or see what you guys are really doing more in depth, what's the best way for them to get in contact with you guys?
Yeah, so just msgood.com. There's a let's chat there. Feel free to reach out. Love to answer any questions, comments, or concerns.
Okay, sounds good. All right, guys, there you have it. We'll put that link to his website down in our bio as well so you guys can see it. And with that being said, Dr. Dave Jones, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Will.